The old cowboy had been riding for so long that the desert and the sky had begun to blur together. Heat shimmered in the distance, dancing over the sand like ghosts, and the sun pressed down on his shoulders with merciless weight. Inside his chest, something burned deeper than the weather. Every breath came out thin and sharp as if broken glass lined his lungs. His hands trembled on the reins, and more than once, he nearly slipped from the saddle. Only habit, built from a lifetime of hard days, kept him upright. Hidden beneath his worn jacket was a small, cracked bottle filled with the last of his medicine. He'd been saving it for the moment when the pain became unbearable. But now that moment had already passed. His vision flickered around the edges, and dark spots swam before his eyes. He knew he didn't have much time left. Just as he began to accept the idea that this was where his trail ended, he noticed movement ahead near a cluster of rocks. At first, he thought it was just another mirage. But as he drew closer, he saw a man lying in the sand, barely moving. An arrow was embedded deep in his side, and dark blood stained the earth around him. The man's clothes and markings told the cowboy everything he needed to know. He was native, part of a tribe the settlers feared and spoke of in whispers. The cowboy's horse slowed to a stop. For a long moment he sat there staring. All his life he had been warned to stay away, to ride on and never look back. Helping a stranger like this could mean death, even if the stranger survived. But then the injured man lifted his head slightly, his eyes weak but clear, and in them the cowboy saw no hatred, only pain and the quiet understanding of someone already standing at the edge of the world. Slowly, with great effort, the cowboy dismounted. His legs almost gave out beneath him, but he forced himself forward and knelt beside the wounded man. He reached inside his coat and pulled out the fragile bottle. His fingers lingered on the glass. That medicine was his last chance to see another sunrise. He uncorked it anyway. Carefully, he lifted the injured man's head and pressed the bottle to his lips, letting the liquid drip into his mouth. The man swallowed weakly, his gaze never leaving the cowboy's face. When the bottle was empty, the cowboy let it fall into the sand. A strange calm washed over him. He leaned back against a stone, the world tilting slowly away. As darkness crept in from the edges, he thought he heard soft footsteps on the surrounding hills. Shadows appeared where none had been before. Figures stood watching in silence. And then, with the last of his strength gone, the old cowboy let the desert take him. When the cowboy opened his eyes again, the first thing he felt was warmth. It wrapped around his body in a way the cold desert nights never had. For a moment, he wondered if he had already crossed into the next world. The air smelled unfamiliar, a mix of crushed herbs, smoke, and damp earth. Nothing like the dry, dusty scent of the open plains he had known all his life. He tried to move, but his body felt heavy, as if roots had grown around his arms and legs. Slowly, he turned his head. Flickering firelight danced across. Unfamiliar faces arranged in a wide circle around him. Men, women, and children watched in silence, their expressions calm, cautious, and curious all at once. No one spoke. No one touched him. Then he saw the man he had helped. The arrow was gone from his side. In its place were clean bandages wrapped tightly around his torso. He sat upright now, his posture strong despite the injury he had suffered. His eyes, once clouded by pain, were clear and focused, studying the cowboy as if trying to understand something beyond words. "You should not be here," the man finally said. His voice was low and steady. English came to him slowly but clearly. "Your breathing was almost gone when they brought you in." The cowboy swallowed hard, feeling the dry scrape in his throat. "Then why am I still breathing?" The man looked away briefly, then back toward him. "Because you gave life from a dying hand. That is not something the spirits ignore." From somewhere beyond the circle, an older woman stepped forward. Her long hair was braided with small feathers, and lines of wisdom were etched deeply into her face. In her hands she carried a dark bowl, steam rising softly from its surface. She knelt beside the cowboy and raised it to his lips. The liquid inside tasted bitter, but warmth spread through his chest as he swallowed. Around him, the tribe moved with quiet purpose. Someone placed warm stones near his feet. Another gently pressed a cloth damp with herbs against his forehead. Soft chanting filled the air, a rhythm that seemed to match the beat of his heart. He didn't understand the words, but the sound of them steadied him, keeping him anchored to the living world. Hours passed, or perhaps days. He couldn't tell. Each time he drifted, hands were there, guiding him back. He dreamed of endless plains and rushing rivers, of faces he had lost long ago, and of the moment he had poured the medicine into a stranger's mouth. That single choice echoed in his mind over and over. When he finally sat up on his own, strength slowly returning, the wounded man offered him a cup of clear water. "You are not a prisoner," he said, "but you are not free to leave yet either." The cowboy frowned. "What happens to me now?" The man studied him for a long moment, then spoke quietly, almost solemnly. "Tomorrow you will be taken to a place no outsider has ever seen. What happens there is not spoken of, not even among our own people." A chill ran down the cowboy's espy. Before the sun had fully lifted above the jagged edges of the canyon walls, a gentle hand rested on the cowboy's shoulder, drawing him from a restless sleep. He opened his eyes to find the wounded man standing beside him. Now stronger, his movements steadier. Around them, the camp was already stirring, though no one spoke. The morning felt different from any he had ever known. The air was cool, heavy with silence, as if the land itself was waiting. Without a word, the cowboy rose to his feet. His body, which had been broken only days before, responded with surprising strength. He followed as the man led him away from the fire, past sleeping shelters and low-burning embers, and toward a narrow passage between towering rocks. Two others joined them, walking ahead and behind, their presence neither threatening nor comforting. It simply was. The path twisted deeper into the earth, the daylight shrinking behind them, until only faint streams of light filtered through cracks above. The walls were carved with ancient markings, lines and symbols worn smooth by time and countless unseen hands. The cowboy ran his fingers along the stone as he walked, feeling something old and powerful humming beneath his skin. At the end of the passage stood a wide stone arch. Beyond it there was only darkness. "This is where your world and ours briefly touch," the wounded man said quietly. Few are asked to step through. Fewer still return unchanged. The cowboy's heartbeat thundered in his ears. "What am I meant to find in there?" he asked. The man turned to face him. "Not find," he replied. "Remember." With a steady breath, the cowboy stepped forward, passing beneath the arch. The moment he crossed the threshold, the ground seemed to vanish. A rush of wind roared around him, though nothing moved. In an instant, the darkness gave way to blinding light. He stood in a world that did not belong to time. He saw vast plains untouched by fences, herds of animals moving like waves, rivers running clear and wide. He saw the tribe as it once was, children laughing, elders teaching, life in perfect rhythm with the land. Then the vision shifted. Soldiers appeared. Fire, smoke, and broken ground followed. He felt grief, loss, and anger that did not belong to him, yet lived inside him all the same. And then he saw himself. He saw the old cowboy in the desert, shaking, dying, holding a tiny bottle of medicine. He saw the choice again as clear as the sun overhead. He watched himself give it away. In that moment, the visions changed. The land brightened. The pain softened. New paths opened where none had existed before. The message was silent but undeniable. One act of selflessness could bend the course of many lives. When he stumbled back through the arch, he collapsed to his knees, breathless. The tribe stood in a half-circle around him. No one smiled. No one spoke. But in their eyes, he saw deep respect. The wounded man stepped forward, placing a hand over his heart. "You now carry